Do you like to play with a controller? Well, then this update is for you. Hello there, it's KyPDuk from KyPDuk Studio here. Long time no here, as I went rogue with all the development and admin activities recently. Over the past weekend, I released the major update for Norma's Story of One platform, which enables players to play with the controller. The whole work can be divided into several parts, enabling controller support for world exploration, covering the runner level, covering the terminal, which was a real pain in the arse, and covering tutorial dialogues and UI hints based on the current input method. Let's start with world exploration first. And that was the first area I covered. The first and most straightforward thing is character movement in the world. The left stick is used for this purpose, so now you can roam the world while resting your butt on the couch. All interactions are bound to the A button. That includes triggering doors, items, shops, street transfers, rounding buildings, and the rest. The personal assistant, which includes the journal, inventory, and map, was painish, but obviously was covered as well. 3 buttons on the D-pad are used to trigger different sub-activities. Left D-pad to trigger the journal, up for inventory, and right for the map. Within each sub-activity there is a way to navigate. So far, when in the journal, you can go up and down the quest list with LT and RT, and switch between tabs with LB and RB. In the inventory, you use the same LT-RT to go left and right through the item grid, though I'm thinking of replacing this way with highlighting items using the left stick. I also want to introduce the ability to select up and down, as it just makes more sense for the item grid, in my opinion. Please share your thoughts on this in the comment section below. And with the map, the same LT-RT buttons are used to iterate through points of interest on the map. Here I will most likely introduce iteration within the location later, as one location can have more than one point of interest, if that makes sense. In other words, one dot on the map can represent more than one point of interest. The shop UI works pretty much the same as inventory and journal combined. You highlight an item with LT-RT and you switch between buy and sell tabs with LB-RB. The A button here is reserved for triggering purchase or sell actions. Over to the runner level. This one was the easiest to cover, though I'm quite sure that the button choice is not the best at all, so be my judge. Same as in exploration, the left stick is used for character navigation, but in this case only up and down the path, as during such levels the character always runs right. There are only 2 actions which you can perform, and they are jump over, which triggers right before the obstacle, and slides, so I bound the Y button for jump over and A for slide. What can I say? I tried it and I'm not sure that it's the best binding. Maybe something like LT-RT would work better, but I'll leave it for now to collect more feedback. Terminal. That was a real nutbreaker, and I have to say that I kind of underestimated this work. The reason for it was that the initial class, which manages terminal inputs, was designed and built in a way that it should make it easy to use it as a module. Hence, controller integration was supposed to be easily pluggable. And in fairness, it is true to this day, it was quite straightforward to connect the controller input manager to the initial class. The problem was to create everything around controller input, as the gameplay changes dramatically when using the controller. While using a keyboard, you can type whatever you want into the prompt, well, almost whatever you want, and try to execute it. With the controller, I decided to go towards selection lists. So instead of typing, you select a command, folder, file, user, or terminal. It makes it way easier than typing on a virtual keyboard, but it introduces another pain. How should the system know what to present in the list? Obviously, with folders and files, it's easy, whatever is sitting under the current directory. But what about users for su command when you want to switch user, or even worse, the SSH command, when you have to know both the terminal and user? To address it, I created more like a terminal knowledge base, which tracks what the known users are for a particular terminal and what terminals and users you can remote into from a particular terminal. Nuts. But it was done, and in my opinion it's quite a nice workaround. Now, I want you to know my personal opinion on this. I think you can have a full experience only if you're playing with a keyboard, as this is the way, but after playing it with a controller, I have to admit, even though I was quite skeptical, I liked the experience. And by the way, the only place where you still have to type even with a controller is when you get a password prompt. Due to the nature of how you learn about passwords in the game, they cannot be recorded, as sometimes you'll have to guess them from the environment. But I created a small virtual keyboard which contains only alphanumeric characters that can be used as passwords. And by the way, here it is a grid where you select keys with a D-pad in any direction. The last part, dialogues and UI hints. And when all of the actual integration was done and tested, I still had to make sure that all the tutorial dialogues showed the right information and that UI hints were showing the right hints. As I already created a class which is responsible for it, it was quite straightforward to implement. The biggest chunk of work here went towards branching the dialogues and creating new UI hints and animations. And here it is, the wrap up for the major update which will make it to the demo and enables the game to be played using a controller or handheld. By the way, the beauty of it is that you can mix the two methods during the game. For instance, you can play the whole game with a controller if you like, while playing the terminal with a keyboard. That is absolutely valid. That's it for this episode. Have a very nice day, night, or whichever time of day it is for you now, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.